friends, welcome back to A Small Sanctuary. This is Rabbi Esther and we are going to start a new unit together. I am going to be talking all about mikveh. This is going to be a series on mikveh. What is a mikveh? How is a mikveh used in the Jewish tradition? And how can we make mikveh relevant to an inclusive and egalitarian Judaism? This is a big topic and I will be doing a few videos because it's too big to capture in one video. I do want to give a caveat, however, that's important to keep in mind when discussing the ritual bath, which is what a mikveh is. One of the great purposes of Judaism is embodied spirituality, the idea that we can sanctify the physical experience of our being, of our planet, of our lives, and of our bodies. This also applies to how Judaism sees human sexuality in all of its beautiful and wide-ranging diversity. So I'm going to be really careful how I talk. This is a very sensitive and delicate topic that requires respect, sensitivity, and expertise. I would like to emphasize that I am a rabbi. I am not a therapist. I am not a doctor. I'm not a mental health professional or medical worker of any kind. So please first consult your own medical team before moving forward or contemplating how these practices may impact the decision making you make in your ritual or religious life. Having said that, Judaism has a lot to say about how we honor our bodies and how we honor our relationship with our bodies. And both the Torah, the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, and Talmud, the rabbinic scriptures, are filled with wisdom about how to live sanctified lives in the realm of the intimate. There are also opinions and teachings that are outdated, misogynist, or otherwise problematic. We are going to be focusing on the positive, and as a reiteration, this is an LGBTQ affirming and gender egalitarian space. Without further ado, let's get started on mikveh. What is a mikveh? Like, actually, what is the thing? A mikveh is a body of water that contains a certain minimum requirement of living water. Living water, mayim chaim, is water that has been gathered uninterruptedly from natural sources. This could be rainwater, it could be river or lake water, it could even be snow or ice melt. There are two kinds of mikvahot. The word mikveh itself means gathering. It is also interestingly related to the word for hope. One of the names of God is Mikveh Yisrael, used in Tanakh, the hope of Israel. There are two types of mikvahot that we can commonly talk about. One is a natural mikveh, and the other is a human-made mikveh, or an artificial mikveh. A natural mikveh is anything that meets this requirement of living water. It could be a pond, it could be a lake, it could be the ocean, it could be a river, it could even be a dug well. A human-made mikveh is usually a special building or integrated into another type of Jewish building like a synagogue or a community center where there are two pools. One is the immersion pool, which is connected to the gathering pool. The gathering pool sources the water in an uninterrupted way through specially placed piping and makes a connection through something known as neshika, a kiss, with the immersion pool. The kiss is basically an opening between the wall of these two pools. Through connecting the pools together, the kashrut, the fitness of the mikveh, is established, and this makes the mikveh kosher. So the immersion pool is filled up with clean, pleasantly temperatured water. The gathering pool, the bor or the pit, can be any type of water that is naturally gathered. It can be rainwater, and the water gathered in the gathering pool, the bor or the pit, is sourced naturally. By combining the two waters, you basically create a mikveh that is both kosher and also environmentally controlled to make the experience as pleasant as possible. Both mikvahot, natural and human-made, are kosher, and are kosher for all purposes. Of course, immersing in a natural environment may be a little bit more tricky with regards to privacy and dignity and accessibility, but if you are living in a community like I am, where there are no mikvahot that are human-made because I am in a small Jewish community, then a natural mikveh will work as well. So why am I talking about this topic now and making this introductory video about mikveh? It's been almost a year since I started my YouTube channel, and I had endeavored to create and document my entire Jewish year, all the festivals and core Jewish principles of sacred living. So I've done exactly that. I've done all the festivals from Rosh Hashanah right back to Rosh Hashanah, and more high holiday content will be coming soonish. And I've also talked about key Jewish concepts like Shabbat and keeping kosher. The last pillar of traditional or classical Jewish observance, apart from Shabbat and kashrut, the dietary laws, is in fact the observance of mikveh. The observance of mikveh branches off in many different ways. It touches on conversion and questions of conversion. It touches on the holidays, especially the high holidays, where many people choose to immerse to sanctify themselves in advance. It touches on traditional practices around the menstrual laws, or the family purity laws, as they're also called a little bit euphemistically. And it touches on new innovative ways to understand mikveh as a place for personal renewal, marking milestones, connecting with the divine, or finding closure and healing. And we're going to be talking about all those different aspects of mikveh. With regards to mikveh as a practice of the sanctification of human intimacy, I am going to dedicate a separate video to that, because it is a topic that requires care and thoughtfulness, and I want to give it my due diligence. The other topics I'm also going to unfurl a little bit, also in context of the high holidays. The high holidays are often a time where people want to seek out immersion in the mikveh, so we will be talking about it in that context too. We will also be talking about mikveh in the context of conversion and these new forms. Before I close out this video, I just want to read the definition of a mikveh as it is found in the Torah itself. There is one particular reference to mikveh, although the book of Genesis already talks about the mikveh mayim, the gathering of the upper and lower waters in the creation story, which is exactly where we get the idea of mayim chaim, of living waters from. But I wanted to read this verse from the Torah, from the book of Leviticus, Vayikra 11:36. Ach mayan uvor mikveh mayim kiyeh tahor. And so, a source or a pit that is a gathering of waters will remain pure. And this is a key concept of mikveh, because mikveh confers the highest degree of purity that we can attain as Jews in the context of a post-temple Judaism. We do not observe any of the temple rituals anymore, but mikveh is the one purifying process and agent we still have in our Jewish community. A mikveh itself cannot contract impurity in any kind of way. And knowing that we have this source of spiritual purification available to us is a really powerful instrument of deep spirituality. Before I close out this video, there's one last thing I want to say about mikveh and about purity and impurity. In Hebrew, these terms are known as tahor, purity, and tameh, impurity, or tahara, and tum'ah. Purity and impurity are a poor man's translation of these terms. It's worse to translate them with clean and unclean, because this is not about physical hygiene or some kind of conventional sense of cleanliness, but purity and impurity doesn't really scratch the surface of what these words mean. And there is the additional risk that people might internalize negative feelings about what mikveh represents and what it seeks to attain in the human form using the mikveh, that we may want to turn away from the mitzvah altogether, which would be a terrible shame, because it's actually a very beautiful mitzvah. So I would propose translating these terms more like with proximity to life and proximity to death. There are moments in our lives where we embrace the potentiality of life and the living. And there are moments in our lives where we come in contact with or embrace the potentiality or the reality of death. These are not moral states or moral conditions, and they're certainly not weighted by value or rightness or righteousness. They are natural states of being. When we care for the sick or dying, when we have bodily emissions, when we bury the dead, these are all beautiful and holy things. But the Torah posits that these conditions place us in a particular spiritual state that we can transition in and out of. And the mikveh helps us with those transitions. Likewise, there are moments in our lives where we seek closeness to God and closeness to the creative power of the Creator. And that is exactly when we do want to go to the mikveh to achieve that inner state that makes us more receptive to that. Now, there is a lot of controversy and criticism of this way of viewing mikveh. I am, admittedly, a mikveh apologist. I believe in the spiritual methodology of mikveh and have experienced it for many years in my own life. But I also want to invite legitimate feminist critiques of mikveh and other types of critiques coming out of other marginalized experiences or communities. But I also want to encourage you to listen and study this section with an open mind. But I want to be very clear that I will be teaching about mikveh from a body positive perspective in the Jewish tradition. That is my cliffhanger for next time, where I will be digging deeper into these ideas of mikveh as spiritual transition, of points of holiness in our lives, points of life and death, and embracing both in the fullness of the human experience. So that is my cliffhanger, and I'm hoping as we continue our learning journey together that I will bring you into this thought about mikveh as a transition point where we seek out different points of holiness in our lives: closeness to life, closeness to death, inner sanctification and transformation from this lens of radical inclusivity and body positivity. So stay tuned, there will be more to come. I hope you will join me for this big, important section on a small sanctuary as we journey closer to Elul and the high holiday season, where we all be purified and start afresh in the waters and with the waters of life. Thank you for being with me today. Shalom uvracha, with peace and blessings from my bite to your bite.